Good evening, everyone. The Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will have a work session on February 9th, 2026 at 5:15, and it is 5:15 by this clock, until 6 at City Hall, 2425 North Mount Juliet Road to discuss the RFP submitted for the downtown district and Part B of the Land Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as zoning regulations, specific to Article 9, Section 9, 106, Access Management. The public is invited to attend and comment. So we're opening up. We're having a work session here. I want to open the floor up if there's anybody who would like to address the Board of Commissioners to make citizen comments on any of the subjects being discussed here tonight. If you would, come to the podium, give your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. It's Vince King, 24 4th Avenue, Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare this, but I did have a couple of points or questions I'd like to ask or present about these proposals that were submitted in response to the RFP. The one thing that's obvious, that seems to be obvious with everything that goes on or gets submitted with these projects, supposedly for the downtown district or center, is parking. I know one of the specific proposals in question, I think is it image one? Imagine one? Okay. Yeah, the biggest issue that I see with this thing is obviously apartments. I just don't believe that the city infrastructure or the citizens of Mount Juliet care anything about building a bunch of apartments right here on Mount Juliet Road. You can't get through this town as it is. So drop another 500, 600 people, whatever, right in the middle of the downtown district, and you're asking for a lot of problems and a lot more than what you got right now. Besides the issue with the schools. That's another problem you got with apartments. The other thing about this particular proposal that I noticed, and I could be wrong because, again, I did this kind of quickly. You got about 320 parking spaces for 245 apartments. I don't see how that's going to work. Where are these people going to park? From what I understand, there's like a parking garage that's got some parking places in it, maybe 200, and then a parking lot that I would assume the general public is going to be using along with supposedly the apartments. So I just don't see how all that's going to work. I'm not against development. I'm not against, I'd love to see a really nice places to eat around here and maybe a small city park or event center or something like that. That's great. But we don't need 500 people down here. And we don't need them here, and we don't need them across the street either. The infrastructure is not gonna handle it. I didn't see anything about a red light. I don't know who's planning on paying for a red light, because you're gonna have to put one somewhere, either on Hill or East Caldwell. I didn't see anybody proposing a red light, but I could be wrong, very wrong. The other thing I noticed on the second one from Mission and Sellers Development is I didn't see the RFP, but my understanding or the RFQ was it applied to this property, if I'm not mistaken, not the entire city. So I think the thing with their proposal is they went way outside the scope or the bounds of what I think was asked on the RFP. Maybe not. Again, they're talking about property on across the street that doesn't even apply. They're talking about acreage that doesn't even apply or don't exist. So that's just the biggest thing I wanted to bring up was nobody around here wants apartments in the middle of downtown.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners for comments? All right, I will close citizen comments. We will move forward with the work session. Mr. Martin, or do you want to kick us off? Or you ready?
Yeah, I think she's ready.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. She thought we were discussing something else, Mayor. Sorry.
All right. Ms. Heyer, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep, since we are short on time and y'all have another subject to discuss after this. So essentially this workshop is to discuss the downtown development project, which is the approximate 8 acres between East Hill and East Caldwell. So we issued an RFP for proposals last spring, and I really have to thank the developers for working with us and this group that we had going on, because it's been a long process and they've been very, very flexible with us. Essentially, we asked for a high density mixed use development with traditional downtown design and timeless architectural aesthetics. It should have civic and public uses with public open space and green space, and promote economic and community vitality. We received 2 proposals. One is from Imagine One, and the other one is from Mission Settlers. The original proposals were revised. They were asked to revise them last fall because we decided to keep the City Hall property and the property behind us. So that initially was included. So we've taken those out. So to keep time brief, I'm going to let the developers present to you their proposals, which you should have in front of you, the revised proposals. So we'll start with Mission Sellers Group.
So we have enough time at the end for their presentations. Can we cover the cross-access easement first? Is that possible?
Okay. I wasn't really prepared on that one.
Yeah. And that's fine. If not, we can wait till afterward.
No, that's fine. We're just here for a workshop. So. All right. Are you ready, or who's doing cross access?
There's really not a whole lot to it.
Commissioner Giles.
Yeah, the attorney went back over that we looked at that day. And as far as who pays for what when it comes up to that, there would be a construction easement that would be recorded on the plats anyway. Isn't that what you said?
The cross-access easement would allow for construction.
That's right.
So not a separate easement.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's-
So in actuality, unless there's something else, those 3 things that the planning commission wanted to take off is fine. So I don't have any other questions about it. Somebody else does.
Ms. Blaley, is co-sponsor there, so.
Yeah. I did, to me, it's just cut and dry. Simple. But it was deferred for the purpose of a work session. So that's what we're having.
It's well, we want to get it done right, and if it takes a month longer, that's a lot better than backing us into something that's difficult to get out of. So
It's already been publicly noticed for the next meeting. So final reading will be next meeting.
perfect. So final reading will be next meeting. Vice Mayor, do you have anything to add on it?
On legal device.
All right, legal for less. Oh wait, that's a slogan for somebody. All right, Ms. Heyer.
Is there a representative from Mission Sellers?
Let's see it. The time is 5:24. We have to 6 o'clock. So 36. Can you limit your presentation to say 12 minutes? All right. And that's time for the next presentation and some questions, answers, and whatever else. So have at it.
Great. There should be a PowerPoint. Great, thank you. I'm Johnny Wagaman with Mission Sellers Development Partnership, 3 South 9th Street. This has been a very exciting and dynamic process that we've been just had the pleasure of working on and having this opportunity. Thanks for hearing us tonight. Thanks for all being here and giving us this opportunity to talk about this. In Mission's 40 plus years in this development business, this has been just one of the most unique projects we've had the opportunity to work on. This is an opportunity to create the downtown for Mount Juliet, which is for us a generational opportunity to shape the future of how Mount Juliet residents live, work, add in your other word in that area. And it's a new type of development for this community in a lot of ways. You know, I'm using words like transit, walkability, pedestrian safety, density, value per acre, units per acre, which are some of the development language we've used in this town before, but we're talking about density that hasn't been seen before in any sort of way. Thank you. So I'm aware that's new and that's changed, but this is personally what I have a passion for. So I'm really excited to get to share this tonight and share some of our findings with you. So we have essentially 5 key points I'd like to present on this evening. The first is our proposal is a cohesive and coordinated development of multiple sites within this district. We've done a couple of different iterations of designs on this site, now 6.5 acres with 1 out parcel. We also have a 9-acre site across the street that's called Charlie's Place. And we also have been working and discussing with another community developer who has a little over 4 acres across the street, how we can create a cohesive master plan for this entire community in this district. We are talking about approximately 275 units of multifamily in the downtown, the 6.5 acres, 220 units across the street for 495 residential units in the district, 87,000 square feet of commercial, which includes a blend of basically every single commercial type. There have been preliminary discussions of fine dining in the out parcel. There's just probably the most exciting part about our proposal is the little over 1 acre community plaza that is in the center of our downtown district. We feel like there needs to be a community space. So initially in our 8-acre proposal, we had about 50 more units on this site. But what we've done with this reimagining at 6.5 acres is create a massive community plaza in the center that could create continuity if the city hall was ever redeveloped by the city or by another developer for overall site just cohesion throughout the site. One of the things I'd really like to share about is just kind of a walkthrough of the site. This is designed to be a place that is the hub, is the gathering place of Mount Juliet, the true downtown feel. We don't have the size here to do a square as the other communities have, but we do have the ability to be able to create a place where we can do farmers markets, where we could do shop local events, where we could do other community programming right in the center of this and have people walk there. That's the idea, is that very safely people would be able to walk between these areas and it would promote future development within this area. I think I left out, so our total development proposal is 19 acres. I guess I outlined what they were, but didn't have the total there. The second major part of our proposal is the creation of a downtown CBID. We have included in your packets proposed language for the downtown CBID, which would be a 50 cents per $100 tax rate that's assessed to parcel owners that opt into this. We have a unique situation that we're proposing more than 2 properties into this proposal, in which you need by state law, you have to have 2 separate properties in order to enact a CBID. So we would be able to actually do that right off the top. We believe that our economic analysis is, once this is fully built out between the 2 sites, there would be $341,000 a year in CBID tax revenue, which would be funneled directly into this district for a number of different uses. It could self-fund things like repairs. It would be able to be used for things like additional community policing during events. The list of allowable things in the CBID is pretty liberal, and we would be able to have a lot of control, or the board in the CBID would be able to have a lot of control in making sure that this district maintains the highest quality for the city of Mount Juliet and the standard that we're trying to set. I just want to share this. This is the language that was used in a previous CBID that you all did, but the creation of the district will enhance the local business climate and help manage the area to ensure that it is properly redeveloped, safe, clean, and vibrant, and will bring more people to Mount Juliet to live, work, play, and shop. The third part of our proposal is just a straightforward purchase and sale agreement. Nothing fancy, no strange developer tricks. This is actually a copy of the same purchase and sale agreement you all just entered into with another developer for a piece of property last year. We liked it, so we offered the same one up in this in our proposal. We used a comparative market analysis to come up with our price that we've offered in this. With that being said, there really are no comparable properties to comp this off of. So with that being said, and there was no pricing guidance, we believe that this is something that can be negotiated on our side. So if there were to be a higher offer, our group would be interested in matching that offer if the terms are similar. With that being said, the city paid, we have offered $5 million for the property. The city paid a total of $4.2 million for it. So if you were to accept our agreement as is without countering, that would be an 18% return. But again, we're always open to discussions on purchase price. The fourth part of our proposal is really just a focus on the people. This is an area that is actually, I know that the word live, work, play is thrown around, but this is the true definition of it. We are talking people here who are living, who have the opportunity to work in the same place, who can walk to Sprouts from this location and stay all in one place. And really, the residents in the district and downtown will have the ultimate freedom in the choice in how they move around. They can walk, they can bike, and there is a train right there. We've had discussions with WeGo on how we can better integrate their service into our communities. And we're grateful to have a letter of support from them on another project of ours. And we just want to put that out there that this is a huge part of our development is just community partnership and making sure that we're using all the community resources we can to just make this the best project possible. The goal with WeGo is, and the rail in general is, and to build downtown is to be able to bring people into the community. There's already been discussions on two-way trains, on being able to bring people out here in the evening to be able to live or to be able to shop and use these establishments in downtown Mount Juliet that would be created, and then train back to their cities in either direction. And the last piece of our proposal is just our financial analysis. I believe strongly in the strong towns analysis of small communities and just communities in general, and I think it's overlooked way too much. This is our analysis of what we believe how strong towns would look at the downtown development. We have a total development value of $170 million. That creates a value per acre of a little over $11 million of taxable value per acre. And our analysis of tax revenue is $80,000 per acre. We suspect that this may be one of the highest revenue per acre developments in the city of Mount Juliet, and thus the most sustainable, if you also add on the ability to have the CBID to control the infrastructure. We're taking land that has a zero tax basis to over $1 million a year in yearly tax revenue. One thing I want to put in there is that our sales tax revenue, we also calculate local spending capture of new residents that'll be coming into the area. So we have this new development will increase property tax to $197,000 per year. And this is just to Mount Juliet. There's also, we split it out between the tax that also goes to Wilson County, $197,000 a year in property tax to Mount Juliet, $341,000 a year in CBID revenue, as I outlined earlier, that'll stay within the district for all the different uses that it can have. $550,000 a year in estimated sales tax between spending capture and the 87,000 square feet of new commercial, which creates a little over $1 million in yearly recurring revenue to the city of Mount Juliet. And how that's achievable is by the density. Density can be a tough word, and it's change, and it's different, and it's new. But one of the things that makes our project unique is that we are proposing a 5-story structured parking deck that will be oversized to cover most of the parking needs for this development and our other development. We have 824 parking spaces between the two projects that we've proposed, which is nearly parked. which is a very, very rare thing for this kind of dense development. In other areas where we propose developments like this, we have a considerably less parking ratio. So we've tried to work that in because we understand that the community is very concerned about parking and what would potentially happen to the neighborhoods if there weren't enough parking for a community programming place like this. So the entire first floor of the parking deck would be only for the use for the shops and for public events. The rest would be for the residents of the apartment building. With that, I'm just grateful to get to share this. This has been a labor of love for us. Again, this kind of development is a passion project for our group. We will be proposing a transit-oriented development in a neighboring community as well, just to kind of show that this is where our vision lies and what we focus on. We're excited to share that with you all through this process as well, but look forward to hearing your comments and feedback on this. Thank you.
Thank you. With 7 seconds to spare. All right, next, our next group. Yep. You'd introduce yourself and you'll be recognized for 12 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Matt Gardner with Imagine One Development, and this is.
I'm Gina Emanuel from Centric Architecture.
We appreciate. I think Miss Jennifer's getting her slides up there. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys this evening. As most of you all know, we've got a pretty extensive history with this downtown development project, and we're excited to continue working on it with y'all. Our team on this RFP is Centric Architecture. Gina, Catalyst Design Group is our landscape architect and our civil engineer. I am Imagine One, and TDK is our development partner. They were our development partner on Vintage Station North, our development partner on the Village at Pleasant Grove, both phases, and we've done some other projects with them as well. So, you know, a little bit of a different team than when we went through this process prior, but this is a team that all members of this team have done at least 3 projects together, in some cases 4 or 5. So we're used to working together. We work well together. So we're excited to be responding to this.
Okay, so this site plan, as Matt said, we've been working on this. I look back at my project folder. It was 2022 when we started working on this, and there's been several iterations from that. So I thought I'd just retrace where we landed and where we are now. When we first started this, we had been looking at a new city hall on the site. I think we all revised it to say City Hall may relocate. And now what we're looking at is City Hall remaining and then what is able to happen around it with that being the case. And I will say one thing we have always liked is that City Hall would be on the site. So the fact that it's remaining is a positive to us. We think it provides a great civic anchor for any downtown and a sense of permanence to the site as well. So that was something we were like, we can work really well with this. So some of the things that we kept from all the previous proposals, we do have a public square now. It's the letter A that you see on there. We had one before. It was a little larger in the previous iteration, but we thought that was a really important element to keep. The retail and restaurant spaces all remain. We have scaled those a little bit to work a little bit better with the new geometry of the site since we took out the piece where City Hall sits. And the streetscapes are all active. One of the things we have going through the site is we do have a street that we've added from East Caldwell to East Hill. That's a parallel parking street, very walkable. On one side is the commercial, on the other side is residential. We picture stoops, different things like that to really make a walkable atmosphere. The thing that is different is we did have a much larger structured parking scenario in the first scheme. And what we did was we had kept that all subgrade. And it went from, as you all know, from East Hill down to Caldwell, there's a big grade drop on the side, and we were able to tuck it into the site. And by losing the City Hall portion of the site, it was a little bit more difficult to get that to work. So we're proposing a little bit more of a scaled retail and restaurant piece on the front and the ability to park next to it with that surface parking lot that you see.
And one of the things that we did remember from the prior process was some hesitancy about structured parking. And so being able to utilize the surface parking for the retail and the restaurants, we think is actually a good thing and responsive to some of the feedback we got during that last process. And do feel very strongly, and I appreciated the citizen comment earlier to make sure that we don't have a parking problem on this. So we do have fully parked site So as every project has always done, we figure out how much parking we can do, and then that tells us how big of buildings we can build to make sure that we don't use different, build more buildings than we have parking for. And obviously, as we look at, restaurants take more parking than office, which takes more parking per square foot than residential. So we start, as we play with that matrix on what the uses are, that tells us how many parking spaces we have. So it's a little multivariate optimization that allowed us to land here, knowing that how much, we think this is a great retail opportunity along with the streetscape on Mount Juliet Road, but also that interior courtyard, that walkability, keeping that pedestrian plaza, not just on A, but, going through this building up to the out parcel, it's building 7, just really trying to incorporate all of that. And then having that be the catalyst for growth for additional parcels outside of this RFP that we just stuck to this piece. So we didn't examine that.
Yeah, and so these are some of the images you see on the previous slide, just showing how we envision it. I think we've been in meetings with several of you before about, the other group is of farmers markets as well. We think that's a great idea. Love the idea of more outdoor space, movies in the park, movies in the square, things like that we think would be a really great asset to Mount Juliet. So that square, all of that would be able to happen in that location. We're also showing some images like the top left. That's what we feel like the residential street could feel like. Really great landscaping, lots of walkable areas where people have stoops and more private entries to their residences. This one may seem a little weird that we're showing the factory here. This is something I've been working on for the last 5 years. It's a project in Franklin, if you haven't been there. It's a really wonderful environment. It was not so, I would say, about 5 years ago. But the group we're working with really looked at this space and said, how can we make this part of the community? And everybody really refers to it as Franklin's living room, which we think is great. So there are people there all day long, people there in the morning. I get there at 9 a.m., it's full. If I go there at 9 p.m., it's full. And what's great about it is it's all around the clock, different for different people. You can take your family there, and there's plenty of things for them to do. You can go meet your friends there. You can go out for dinner with your husband or wife. And I think that's what we envision for this site is, obviously will be different than what the factory has, but it'll be something that really fits Mount Juliet. And we love the idea of people saying, meet me at the square. We know we can bring everyone here and there's something for everyone. And so that's what we felt was really great about this project. And we would do something similar here. And so this is the rendering that we included in our packet. It shows all the other items we've talked about, how you get these walkable streetscapes, great outdoor areas. We know restaurants are important, and we think they're a great way to activate this corner as well. So we love the idea of having them spill onto that square on the busy weekends and things of that nature. And one thing that you all may see in your packet, if you go to this last page with the community engagement where there's some QR codes, we didn't have a chance to do an update for this, but in the previous scheme, we had talked a little bit about community engagement and some of the things we could do. And we think that's really important. So while we're proposing something to you all right now, I think we've done enough projects in Mount Juliet to know how important listening to everybody is. And we would propose to still keep doing that as we refine this project. And so if you look at that QR code, if you all want to scan it with your phone, if you want to, it's just a way to help people visualize things. So you can scan it, you can move around, you can see things, you don't have to put these goggles on, and you can really envision what the space is going to feel like. And so there's a series of things like that we do. We've built a full-scale model before that's the size of that table for people to interact with. We're willing to do whatever it would take to make people feel like they've had a chance to really engage with the project and make it feel like they really have buy-in for what's going to happen moving forward.
And it's very similar to the process that we did, for those of you who were around when we did the RFP on the south side of the train tracks at the TOD station. We did several community charrettes and got buy-in from the community. That project obviously became Station North with the issues with our friends at, it was actually not WeGo, it was the actual RJ Corman. But that is the intent here. Just like we iterated the design for City Hall the first time we went through this process, our proposal, we wanted to comply with the issues of the RFP, but we see this as the first design and the launching point to do that community engaging. We want this to be what Mount Juliet wants this development to be and want to be responsive to that. So, some of the technology in the last 10 years to allow the residents at a community meeting to visualize what we're talking about has just grown leaps and bounds. So this is one of the things that Centric has a great track record of doing to help, the average resident visualize what we're discussing. Looking at the economics of the project, for the land value, we are offering $6,650,000 fee simple purchase. That we know Mount Juliet has the voluntary contribution on a per unit basis, keeping that the same as the last project we did, brings an additional $1,225,000. And so that money to the city totals $7,875,000. That obviously is on top of all the statutory fees, the impact fees, the county fees that go to the schools, that we all know are several $1 million in and of themselves. And so the direct economic impact of the plan as proposed is substantial. And that's just to the city, into the county, into the infrastructure. One of the things that those of you, again, who are part of the process the first time is we believe there are opportunities for additional money, additional partnerships with state grants. The state just started a infrastructure district program that I think went through fourth quarter of last year that we think this would be a prime example to go after. We did the RFP asked for a fee simple purchase. We think there's opportunities to go beyond that and jointly go after some of those federal or state money also, and would love to look at that. If that is not what the city is looking for, if we want to just keep it simple, that is, I think, where we were landing on the last RFP process, our last iteration on City Hall. We are happy to go with this plan. Looking at total development costs, we're looking at on the land we would be purchasing from the city, just under $100 million of total cost and development. And so happy to. We've got a hard cost and soft cost breakdown. Soft cost does include land. It does include the fees to the city, to taxes, and all the other things that are generally in soft cost. Yep. Thank you. All right. Hopefully we did not run over our 12 minutes and are happy to
No.
answer any questions that you guys may have.
Got
A few other quick
Oh.
slides we may show. I will just say that.
You're about 11 minutes.
All right. Okay. I'll talk fast. We love working in Mount Juliet. We've got a few projects here that I'll scroll through that you are probably all familiar with. I've been working in Mount Juliet since 2003, St. Stephen, Mount Juliet Christian Academy. We're always working on lots of things. We love working here. In addition to Station North, this is Vintage Pleasant Grove. That's under construction right now. This is next door. You all are approving our FMDP as we speak. But this is one of the great spots that we're creating in there with outdoor areas and amenity spaces that residents can walk through with the trail structure that we have. You probably all know the Joe Beretta Foundation. They're a community partner. We are working very closely with them to build them a JBF house on that property. So really wonderful people who work a lot in this community. And so we're glad that we're able to include that in our site as well. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. All right. I'll open the floors. If there's any comments from the commissioners, I'll just open it up here. Commissioner
Well,
Giles?
Yeah, I would like to, I wasn't here when the other one came in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was. But I'd be real, and someone said something about it tonight. I'm real concerned about Hill Street going on to Mount Juliet Road. Originally, I think there was a light there on that other submission, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
And the problem with this is, I feel like we've got to use good planning because Hill Street is going to go into Clemens. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be opened up within a few weeks, isn't it?
It's
Few
coming.
months? Yeah.
Some point.
So we're going to have the traffic for people coming that way. And then I thought it was our vision to see that street go on to Golden Bear someday. So we really need to plan now for that light. And I don't know how many wrecks have been out there, but one of my sons who is in law enforcement got hit on Mount Juliet Road right there when someone pulled out from Hill Street because they couldn't see him coming. It wasn't his fault. And he ended up across the street and almost hit the sign of the real estate agency. That was a terrible wreck. I'm just thankful it wasn't on his gun hand, his trigger hand. He had to
Commissioner,
have pins, and it was a terrible thing. totally innocent, just because you can't see with the people in our parking lot parking. You can't see sometimes to pull out. So I really think there needs to be a light there.
You're kind of channeling my thoughts on that. Ideally, you'd have a lighted Hill Street connecting the property across Hill Street together. And if we had some cross access back to Curd to serve that road as well, then cross access on the other side for Caldwell, you could really pick up 3 spots with one traffic light versus trying to put one at Caldwell, Curd, and then hold on to your coffee when you pull out at Hill. That's the way I see it on a map.
I think it needs to be addressed. And I do like that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I thought you were through.
Okay. I do like the crosswalk on that one that says, "Welcome Mount Juliet."
Yeah, it's a nice
Like that.
feature.
Yeah, it is a great feature.
Ms. Mullally?
Okay, I have a question for Public Works, probably you, Todd. Of course, that one across the street, you know, we talked about the signal there at Caldwell, and then going back and forth on the signal with Hill and Curd, and then since the other project, you know, 3 or 4 years ago didn't go through, it was motioned that that traffic signal be moved back to Curd. Now, how far are we into that? We've already got money invested in that signal. It's too late to move it at this point, is my understanding, or where are we at on that?
Yeah, Matt can address that better, but it's
Okay,
pretty imminent.
Yeah, we're already under contract with a construction company to start on that
yeah,
project.
I thought so.
You guys approved it, I think, last meeting. So yeah, it's too late to stop that, but I will point out that neither one of the proposals have done a traffic study yet. That'll be required later in the process.
Mhm.
So whichever company you go with will require a traffic study, and we'll really analyze all those issues you're talking about right now. So we haven't analyzed any kind of traffic study for either proposal yet, but that will,
Right,
that
okay.
will be required.
And looking at the streetscape there, of course, Caldwell, and I know that doesn't line up perfectly. So a signal there, and I've seen this before at other places when the streets don't really line up, but the signal works it out, and the east and west work together and go together. And
So, and this came up when Charlie's Place came through as a separate PUD. If you signalize Caldwell, your 2 side streets are going to be what we call split phasing. Essentially, it's going to be East Caldwell goes and no one else can, and then West Caldwell goes. They can't go together because of that offset.
Yeah.
So it does degrade signal operations, but it's a safety feature more than anything at that point.
yeah, all right. And so, you know, we're looking at the 2 signals, Curd and Caldwell. So at some point, and I know that East Hill, there's no street across the street. So that if we put one there, that would be for north-south Mount Juliet Road and just East Hill, right? But it is eventually going to go to Clemens and then at some point Golden Bear. So like, I guess my question is, and I know y'all don't like to put signals less than what, 1,600 feet thereabout. If there were, say, 3 signals, could they be synced together? I mean, how would that work?
They could, we could. There's a few different options. I think the long-term plan there is to get it into a traffic control center, which would help. There's also autonomous solutions that have had, call it mixed results in Providence. However, it's a little like putting on a Band-Aid on a bullet wound at a certain point when you get so many signals so close together. Your progression goes down pretty dramatically.
And of course, this would be a walkable area. So we obviously can't have cars going as fast as they go now, which is ridiculous. So somehow the traffic and the signals and all of that, people walking across the street, you know, to get to Charlie's Place. And I mean, that's got to all be worked out. because we can't widen the road, that's for sure. So, what, in your opinion, what is the safest way to slow down traffic in this area so pedestrians are safe crossing the street, walkable? Because after all, it is a walkable community. So, I mean, I don't know. I would love your feedback on the safety of pedestrians since it does include across the street.
Yeah, we would encourage people to cross at the signals, and we would implement what's called a leading pedestrian interval, which essentially it goes all red, and then there's a brief second of time where just the pedestrian gets to go. If volumes are high enough, we could look into exclusive pedestrian phases. But you see those more commonly in larger metropolitan downtowns. I would love to see that be warranted in Mount Juliet. The mayor's showing me the Sky Bridge right now. I'm going to warn you, that's not super feasible, in my opinion.
I do like the idea.
I love the idea, the available right away with ADA concerns. We're talking about potentially city maintained elevators.
Our CBID maintained elevators.
That it could be. But there's a lot of engineering for the PED bridge to become more feasible, in my opinion. I think for now, the focus would be at grade.
Vice Mayor?
So tonight I was hearing, and I guess this question will go over to the city manager, just because I'm trying to understand this a little bit. So the 4.2 million is what was thrown out tonight, or stated tonight that we purchased. Those were for the 2 lots, correct?
Yes, sir, for the property next door, that 4 acres, not the
The rest of the
pre-existing
lots. Yeah, the pre-existing.
property.
So the pre-existing property, do we have value on that?
I do actually. I went back and looked at some appraisals that we've had in the past for all of the parcels that we're talking about today. It would be 8.3 million. is
And that's
what-
including the 4.2?
Mhm, yes,
So 8.3?
yes.
And neither one of our, but I mean, well, let me back up before I say this. So the 8.3 is all included in these 2 proposals, correct? I'm sorry, the land that they are
Yes.
proposing.
Yes.
And
That's
did we
what's
have a
happening.
discussion why we didn't ask that question of, if they're only offering 5 million and it's not really an 18% return, I think is what one gentleman stated, if we've taken a loss, because they're still using the rest of the land. We bought 4.2, but we're still sitting on the existing properties. So, and they want that for their development. So we're not really gaining ahead on this. It's like we're giving the citizens property up.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously with the 5 million, that one is 3.3 short. The other one is about, if you include the voluntary contributions, it's about $425,000 short.
Did
The
that
8.3.
did the 8.3 include City Hall parcel,
No,
or is that excluding it?
that's
Okay.
excluding. It's excluding City Hall and it's excluding the tag office behind it.
Thank you.
All right. It's 6 o'clock. What?
Both for your submittals. I think the plans are beautiful, both of them. And so I just wanted to thank you for all the effort and everything that went into it.
Last thing before adjournment, city manager, Ms. Hire, next steps. Do we need to get with you individually?
If you guys can provide some direction to Kenny, so we have an idea of, and that there's no action tonight because it's a
Yeah.
workshop, but individually, to give him some direction on where we go from here, because we can bring something to the board, but we just need to know what direction you guys are
Thank you.
favoring.
All right. If there's nothing else, if there's no objection, we'll adjourn this workshop and reconvene at 6:15 for our public hearing. Hearing none, we're adjourned.